Captain Lee Jin-ho stared out the viewport of the exploration vessel Harmony as strange lights danced across the dark space ahead. His heart pounded against his ribs. After 3 years of searching the outer rim, they had finally found something that wasn't trying to kill them. Captain Lieutenant Kim Sora called from her station, her voice tight with excitement. The energy readings are unlike anything we've seen. It's not mechanical, it's almost organic. Nodded to his communications officer, Insun Park Minho. Open a channel. Let's see if they want to talk. Response came immediately, but not through their radio systems. Instead, a sound filled the bridge of Harmony, so beautiful it made Jinho's eyes water. The music seemed to come from the walls, themselves vibrating through the ship's hull and into their bones. It was peaceful, curious, and somehow joyful. "What the hell is that?" whispered Chief Engineer Ko Sang-yoon from his console. Before anyone could answer, the space in front of them shimmered like heat waves rising from hot pavement. A ship appeared, if it could be called a ship. It looked more like a living crystal, its faceted surface catching starlight and throwing it back in rainbow patterns. The vessel was beautiful in a way that made Jinho forget to breathe. "They're hailing us," Minho reported, his voice filled with wonder. "But not on any frequency, I know." The harmonics grew stronger, and suddenly words formed in their minds, not heard, but understood. "Greetings, metal ship travelers. We are the Kethmori, come seeking knowledge and friendship among the stars." Jinho exchanged glances with his crew. In all their encounters with alien species, none had ever mentioned friendship first. Usually it was threats, demands, or condescending lectures about human primitiveness. "Tell them we welcome them aboard," Ginho said, surprising himself with how quickly he made the decision. The beings that materialized in the Harmony's docking bay were unlike anything in the xenobiology textbooks. They stood tall and graceful, their bodies made of what looked like living crystal. Light seemed to flow through them, and when they moved, it was like watching dancers made of starlight. The leader stepped forward, her crystalline form pulsing with soft blue light. "I am Velanara, speaker for the searching song. We thank you for your welcome." "I'm Captain Lee Jinho," he replied, extending his hand in the universal human gesture of greeting. To his surprise, Velanara understood immediately and clasped his hand. Her touch was warm and somehow musical. "We have watched your people from afar," she continued, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "You are the first species we have encountered that creates beauty alongside destruction. Your music calls to us." Over the following days, the cultural exchange began. The Kethmori shared their crystal-based technologies, medical devices that could heal wounds by resonating with the body's natural frequencies, and growth chambers that could nurture life in the harshest environments. In return, the humans showed them mechanical engineering, agriculture, and the art of metallurgy. Dr. Kim Sora spent hours with Velanara's apprentice, a young Kethmori named Thelvin, whose curiosity about human biology was matched only by Sora's fascination with crystalline life forms. "Your species is so different from ours," Thelvin said one evening as they worked in the ship's laboratory. "You are soft and warm, while we are hard and resonant, yet we both seek to understand the universe." "That's what makes friendship possible," Sora replied, adjusting her scanner to study the harmonic patterns flowing through Thelvin's crystalline matrix. "We don't have to be the same to care about each other." The breakthrough came when Chief Engineer Ko Sang-yoon accidentally dropped a wrench near one of the Kethmori healing crystals. Instead of the harsh clang they expected, the crystal absorbed the sound and transformed it into a gentle melody. Within hours, Ko and the Kethmori engineers were collaborating on hybrid technologies that combined human mechanical precision with Kethmori harmonic resonance. "This is incredible," Ko laughed as he watched a crystal-enhanced engine purr with perfect efficiency. "Your crystals don't just conduct energy, they sing it into harmony." Word of the successful first contact spread quickly through both species. Within months, the Kethmori had established a research colony on Earth's moon, their crystalline structures growing like beautiful flowers in the lunar soil. The sight of the crystal gardens visible from Earth's surface became a symbol of hope for peaceful coexistence. Captain Ginho stood in the observation dome of the lunar colony, watching human and Kethmori researchers work side by side. "Children, From both species played together in the low gravity, their laughter mixing with the gentle harmonics of the growing crystals. "Your people have given us something we never expected to find," Velinara said, joining him at the viewing window. "What's that?" Ginho asked. "A reason to believe that the universe is not cold and empty, but full of potential friends waiting to be discovered." Unknown to them, other species throughout the galaxy watch this partnership with mixtures of curiosity and disdain. The hegemony of Zarthik, in particular, viewed both humans and Kethmori as primitive newcomers whose resources were ripe for exploitation. They saw the crystalline colonies on the moon and began to plan. But for now, in this moment of peace, two species that had found friendship among the stars continued to build something beautiful together. The first sign of trouble came on a Tuesday morning when Dr. Park Min-ho was drinking his coffee in the lunar colony's observation deck. The harmonic crystals that usually sang their gentle morning songs had fallen silent. The Kethmori researchers moved through the corridors with unusual urgency, their crystalline forms flickering with worried amber light. "Something's wrong," Thelvin told him, her voice carrying new harmonics he had never heard before. "The great resonance from our homeworld grows weak. The song of all things is becoming distant." Before Minho could ask what that meant, alarms began blaring throughout the colony. Commander Choi Daeho's voice crackled over the intercom system. All personnel to emergency stations were receiving a distress signal from Kethmori space. In the command center, Captain Lee Jin-ho stood before the main display screen, his face pale. The transmission was breaking up, filled with static and interference, but the voice was unmistakably Velinara. "Earth friends. Massive fleet, they demand our crystals. Will not listen to reason." The signal cut to black. When was this sent? 18 hours ago, Communications Officer Nam Ji-woo reported. The delay suggests they're under some kind of jamming field. Elder Silmora, the oldest Kethmori in the colony, approached the human officers. Her usual bright blue glow had dimmed to a worried gray. "Captain Jinho, we fear the worst. The hegemony of Zarthik has been expanding their territory. They're known for their cruelty to crystal-based life forms." "Who are they?" Jinho demanded. "A militaristic empire that controls dozens of star systems," Silmora replied, her harmonics trembling with fear. "They view all other species as resources to be consumed. Their supreme commander Vexstar is known throughout the galaxy for his brutality." Hours passed with no word from the Kethmori homeworld. Then, at 0300 hours, a new transmission arrived. This one was not from the Kethmori. The face that appeared on screen was reptilian, with cold yellow eyes and scales that seemed to absorb light. Supreme Commander Vexstar, of the Zarthik hegemony, spoke with the casual arrogance of someone accustomed to absolute power. "Primitive crystal beings of this system," he said, his voice like grinding stone. "Your world contains elements essential to our weapons manufacturing. You will submit to immediate mining operations or face the consequences of your defiance." Transmission switched to show the Kethmori homeworld from orbit. Hundreds of massive Zarthik warships surrounded the planet like hungry wolves. The beautiful crystalline cities that covered the surface looked tiny and fragile beneath the shadow of the alien fleet. "You have one rotation of your planet to comply," Vexstar continued. "Resistance will be met with overwhelming force." The screen went dark. "Dear God," whispered Lieutenant Kim Sora. "How many ships do they have?" "Sensors count at least 300 vessels," reported Ensign Ko Sengun. "Each one is 3 times the size of our largest battleship." Elder Silmora's crystalline form began to pulse with rapid, panicked colors. "You don't understand. They're not just demanding our crystals. Our crystals are us. They are living extensions of our people. To harvest them would mean ... Would mean what?" Jinho asked gently. "It would mean the death of everyone on our world." The next transmission came 12 hours later. This time it was from the Kethmori Council of Harmonies, led by Velinara herself. Her usually radiant form looked dim and tired. "Supreme Commander Vexstar," she began, her voice carrying the formal harmonics of diplomatic speech. "We have tried to explain that our crystals are not mere minerals. They are living beings, integral to our life force, To remove them would cause us unimaginable suffering and death. The response came immediately. Vexstar's laughter was like breaking glass. Your protests are noted and dismissed. We care nothing for your primitive beliefs. We will surrender your crystals, or we will take them by force. The choice is yours. We have told them we are protected by friendship with Earth, Velinara continued, desperation creeping into her harmonics. But they mock such bonds. They say friendship is weakness. Is weakness? Vexter interrupted. Your human allies are thousands of light years away. What can they do? Send angry messages? File complaints with the Galactic Council? We are beyond their reach. The transmission ended with Vexstar's cold laughter echoing through the command center. The bombing began 6 hours later. The first reports came through fragmentary transmissions from the surface. The Zarthik were not targeting military installations or government buildings. They were deliberately striking the great resonance crystals that form the heart of Kethmori civilization. They're not trying to conquer us, Thelvin whispered, her voice breaking as she monitored the signals from home. They're torturing us. Each crystal they destroy causes pain to every Kethmori on the planet. Dr. Park Min-ho watched helplessly as the young scientist he had come to think of as a daughter writhed in agony. The connection between the Kethmori and their homeworld's crystals meant that she could feel every explosion, every destruction, as if it were happening to her own body. "Captain!" she gasped, her harmonics fractured with pain. They're destroying everything. The song of all things is screaming. We're dying. The last clear transmission came from Velinara herself. Her image flickered and broke apart as the communication arrays on the planet were systematically destroyed. Captain Jin-ho, ... They burn our world. We told them we are protected by friendship, but they laugh. They say friendship is for the weak. You're killing the great resonance. Without it, we cannot survive. Tell our friends on Earth. Tell them we tried to be strong. ... Tell them. The transmission cut to eternal static. The intercepted Zarthik. Communications arrived 3 days after the last transmission from the Kethmori homeworld. Security Chief Choi Daeho had been monitoring enemy frequencies around the clock, hoping for any information about their friends. What he found made his blood run cold. "Captain Gin-ho," he called, his voice shaking. "You need to see this. All senior officers to the briefing room. Now." The command staff gathered in grim silence. Dr. Kim Sora sat beside Dr. Park Min-ho, both of them exhausted from caring for the surviving Kethmori in the lunar colony. Thelvin had not spoken since the bombing began, her crystalline form dim and flickering like a dying candle. What we're about to see, Daeho warned, is going to be difficult to watch. But we need to know what happened. The first recording showed Supreme Commander Vexstar addressing his officers. The reptilian commander's yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he spoke. "The crystal beings have provided us with unexpected entertainment," he said, his voice filled with cruel amusement. "Our scientists have discovered that destroying their precious crystals causes them physical agony. Each explosion sends waves of pain through their entire population." The camera switched to show Zarthik soldiers on the planet's surface. They were not mining the crystals. They were systematically destroying them, one by one, with handheld weapons. In the background, the sounds of Kethmori voices could be heard, not their usual beautiful harmonies, but screams of pure agony. "Sir," one of the Zarthik officers reported, "the crystal beings are trying to communicate. They're begging us to stop." "Excellent," Vexstar replied. "Continue the bombardment. Record everything. This will serve as a warning to other species who think friendship with primitives will protect them." Lieutenant Namju turned away from the screen, her face green with nausea. They're torturing them to death for fun. The next recording was even worse. Showed Zarthik entertainment broadcasts being transmitted throughout their empire. The dying songs of the Kethmori, their final harmonics as their life force faded, were being played as background music. "For comedy shows, listen to the music of the week," laughed a Zarthik comedian on one channel. These pathetic creatures thought their human friends would save them. Where are their protectors now? The audience of reptilian beings roared with, Laughter engineer Ko Sangoon slammed his fist on the table. Those bastards, they're not just killing them, they're mocking them while they die. The final recording showed the end. The great resonance crystals that had stood for thousands of years were reduced to smoking rubble. The beautiful crystalline cities were shattered ruins. Kethmori population, once numbering in the millions, had been reduced to silence. Total elimination achieved, reported a Zarthic officer. The crystal beings are extinct. We have recorded their death songs for future entertainment broadcasts. Excellent work, Vexstar replied. Begin harvesting operations immediately. Can send a message to any species foolish enough to form alliances with primitive races. Is what happens when you stand against the hegemony. Captain Jinho sat in stunned silence as the recordings ended. Around the table, his officers struggled to process what they had witnessed. Dr. Sora was crying quietly, while Chief Daho's hands were clenched into fists. They didn't just kill them, Jinho said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. They tortured an entire species to death and turned it into entertainment. In the medical bay, the surviving Kethmori from the lunar colony were dying. Without connection to their homeworld's great resonance, their life force was slowly fading. Elder Silmora had already passed away, her final harmonics a mournful song for her lost people, Thelvin. The young scientist who had become so close to the human crew was barely clinging to life. Dr. Park Minho sat beside her bed, holding her crystalline hand as her light grew dimmer. Minho, she whispered, her voice like wind through broken glass. Are you angry? Yes, he replied, tears streaming down his face. I'm so angry I can barely think straight. Good, she said, managing a faint smile. Your people speak of justice. We believed in friendship. Perhaps sometimes friendship and justice sing the same song. She used her last strength to share something with him, a mental connection that showed him the final moments of her homeworld. He saw the terror and pain of her people, but also their courage. Even as they died, the Kethmori had sung songs of hope, believing that their human friends would somehow find a way to make things right. They laughed at friendship, Thelvin continued, her voice growing weaker. They said it made us weak. Show them they were wrong. Her light faded completely, leaving only a beautiful crystal sculpture that no longer sang. Dr. Minho sat in the silence for a long time, staring at the remains of his friend. Around him, the other surviving Kethmori were dying one by one there. Harmonics joining together in a final song of loss and love. Something cold and terrible was growing in the hearts of humanity. The Zarthic had made a fundamental error in their calculations. They had mistaken human restraint for weakness, and friendship for something soft and breakable. They were about to learn the difference between a human at peace and a human seeking justice. The recordings of Kethmori death songs continued to play on Zarthic entertainment channels, but they would not play for long. Earth was preparing to teach the galaxy a lesson about the true meaning of friendship, and some lessons, once taught, are never forgotten. The United Earth Alliance emergency session began at 0800 hours on a gray Monday morning. Representatives from every nation, every colony, and every military branch filled the great assembly hall in Geneva. The mood was unlike anything seen since the early days of human space exploration. General Yunhound stood at the podium, her uniform pressed and her face carved from stone. Behind her, the main screen displayed images from the intercepted Zarthic, broadcast the burning crystal cities, the laughing faces of alien comedians, the dying songs of the Kethmori being played for entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the silent hall. We are here to decide how humanity responds to genocide. Not just any genocide, but the systematic torture and murder of our friends broadcast as entertainment. Across an empire that spans dozens of worlds, murmurs rippled through the assembly. Ambassador Chen Weiland from the Pacific Coalition raised his hand. General, what are our military options? Zarthic hegemony controls over 40 star systems. Their fleet outnumbers ours by at least 10 to 1. Numbers mean nothing, General Yun replied simply. They killed our friends. They laughed while doing it. They turned their deaths into a joke. Some things cannot be forgiven regardless of the odds. President Martinez of the American Federation stood up. "General, are you suggesting we go to war with the most powerful military force in known space?" "For what? Revenge?" "Not revenge," came a voice from the back of the hall. Admiral Lee Jin-ho walked down the center aisle, still wearing his lunar colony uniform. Justice. The assembly fell silent as Jin-ho reached the podium. His face showed the exhaustion of a man who had watched friends die and could do nothing to stop it. "I held Thelvin's hand as she died," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. "She was barely older than a human child. She spent her last moments sharing the memories of her people's final hours with me." "Do you know what she said?" No one answered. "She said that perhaps friendship and justice sing the same song. Does Zarthik believe friendship is weakness? We're about to learn how wrong they are." The debate lasted exactly 17 minutes. When the vote was called, it was unanimous. Every hand raised in agreement. Every nation, every colony, every representative voted for total war against the Zarthik hegemony. Motion carried. General Yoon announced, "Earth goes to war." The mobilization began immediately. Every shipyard in human space began working around the clock. Factories that had produced civilian goods were converted to military production. The crystal technologies that the Kethmori had shared in friendship became the foundation for weapons of unprecedented power. Captain Nam Ji-woo stood in the engineering bay of the battleship Song of Friendship, watching Chief Engineer Ko Sang-yoon install the final crystal enhancement arrays. The Kethmori survivors from the lunar colony had given their remaining crystal technology freely, despite their grief. "This feels wrong," Ji-woo said quietly. "Using their gifts to make weapons." Elder Miltara, one of the last surviving Kethmori, approached them. Her crystalline form was dim but steady. "This is right. Our crystals were meant to create harmony, but harmony sometimes requires the silencing of discord." "You're sure about this?" Ko asked. "These weapons will be ... devastating." "The Zarthik recorded our death songs," Miltara replied, her harmonics carrying ancient sadness. "Our crystals will sing those songs back to them. Let them hear the music they made of our pain." Admiral Ginho was promoted to Supreme Fleet Commander, leading the largest armada in human history. The fleet included every available warship, but these were not the same vessels that had fought human wars in the past. Crystallena's engines allowed them to travel faster than ever before. Crystal-guided weapons could strike with perfect accuracy across impossible distances, and most importantly, the communication arrays now carried something the Zarthik had never encountered. The ships could sing. In his quarters aboard the flagship, Jinho recorded a message that would be broadcast to every human colony, every space station, every military unit preparing for war. "Citizens of Earth," he began, "in 3 days, we depart for Zarthik space. We go not as conquerors seeking territory or resources. We go as friends seeking justice for friends who can no longer seek it themselves." He paused, looking at the crystal sculpture that had once been Thelvin, now mounted in a place of honor on his desk. The Zarthik believe that friendship makes us weak. They think that distance makes us powerless. They are about to discover that they have made the greatest mistake in their empire's history. They hurt our friends. Now they will learn what that means. Dr. Park Min-ho worked feverishly in the weapon development labs, tears streaming down his face as he calibrated the harmonic resonance systems. Each weapon was tuned to the frequency of Kethmori death songs, amplified through crystal matrices that would carry the voices of the dead across space. "I'm sorry, Thelvin," he whispered as he completed the final adjustments. "I'm sorry we couldn't save you. But we won't let your death be meaningless." The departure ceremony was held on Luna. In the crystal gardens where the Kethmori had lived and worked alongside humans, the remaining Kethmori sang a song of farewell not for the human fleet, but for the Zarthik hegemony. "They will hear our voices," Elder Miltara harmonized as the massive fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace. Every crystal they destroyed, every friend they killed, every song they silenced, all of it will come back to them. Admiral Ginho stood on the bridge of the Song of Friendship, surrounded by crystal resonance panels that hummed with the voices of the dead. The fleet was ready. Earth was ready. "All ships," he announced, "jump to hyperspace. It's time to teach the galaxy what happens when you hurt Earth's friends. The stars shifted, and humanity went to war. The human fleet materialized at the edge of Zarthik space like ghosts emerging from a nightmare. 300 ships appeared simultaneously across 12 different star systems, the crystalline-enhanced hulls gleaming with an otherworldly light that made them look more like instruments of divine judgment than machines of war. Admiral Li Jinho stood on the bridge of the flagship Song of Friendship, watching the tactical display as enemy vessels scrambled to respond. The Zarthik had been caught completely off guard. Their ships moved in confused patterns, clearly unprepared for an attack so far from Earth. "Open all communication channels," Jinho ordered. "Full spectrum broadcast." Communications Officer Nam Jiwoo nodded, her fingers dancing across the crystal-enhanced control panels. "All frequencies open, sir? We'll hear this from here to their capital world." Jinho stepped forward, his voice calm and cold as winter steel. "Zarthik hegemony. This is the Earth's defense fleet. You hurt our friends. You tortured them to death for entertainment. You turned their dying songs into jokes for your amusement. You will now learn why the galaxy fears Earth's children." The response came immediately from Supreme Commander Vexstar himself. His reptilian face twisted with arrogance and disbelief. "Primitive humans," he laughed, his yellow eyes gleaming. "You dare threaten the hegemony? You are thousands of light years from home, outnumbered 50 to 1. Surrender now, and we may show mercy." "Mercy?" Jinho replied, his voice carrying a dangerous edge. "Did you show mercy to the Kethmori children as they screamed? Did you show mercy when you broadcast there? Death songs for entertainment?" "They were weak," Vexstar snarled. "As are you. You speak of friendship as if it were strength. It is not. It is." His words were cut off as the human fleet opened fire. The crystal-enhanced weapons did not simply destroy. They sang as each the Zarthik ship was struck. The harmonics of every dead Kethmori filled the vacuum of space. The death songs that had been turned into entertainment now became weapons. Carrying the voices of the murdered across the battle zone, Captain Ko Sang-yoon, commanding the destroyer Thelvin S. Light, watched through his view screen as a Zarthik cruiser exploded in slow motion. But instead of the usual silence of space combat, the bridge was filled with the haunting melodies of Kethmori voices, beautiful, mournful, and absolutely terrifying. "Target destroyed," reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Park Jin-woo. "Moving to next vessel?" "No," Sang-yoon said quietly. "Let them hear the song for a moment. Let them understand what they've done." Across the battle zone, the same scene played out repeatedly. The Zarthik had expected a conventional warship against ship, weapon against weapon. Instead, they faced something they had never encountered: the systematic annihilation of everything they had built, accompanied by the voices of their victims, Supreme. Commander Vexstar's flagship tried to retreat, but Captain Choi Daeho's task force was waiting. The heavy cruiser Harmony's vengeance moved like a predator, its crystal-guided missiles striking with impossible precision. "This is for Velinara," Daeho whispered, as his weapons found their mark. "This is for Silmora. This is for every friend you killed." The Zarthik tried to fight back, but their weapons seemed clumsy and primitive compared to the crystalline-enhanced human technology. More importantly, their crews were beginning to break down. The constant sound of Kethmori death songs, amplified through the crystalline weapon systems, was driving them to madness. "Sir," reported a Zarthik officer on Vexstar's bridge, "our crews are... they're hearing voices. The crystal beings' voices. Some of our soldiers are refusing to fight." "Impossible," Vexstar roared. "They're dead. We killed them all." "Yes," came Admiral Jinho's voice over the communication channel. "You did, and now they're here with us. Every single one of them. Do you hear them singing, Vexstar? That's the sound of justice. The battle was not a battle at all, it was an execution." The human fleet moved through Zarthik space like a force of nature, destroying everything in their path. Military bases, weapons factories, command centers all reduced to glowing debris while the voices of the dead Kethmori sang their lament. But the humans were not random in their destruction. They were methodical, surgical. Every target they hit had been involved in the genocide of the Kethmori. Every ship they destroyed had participated in the bombardment. Every base they eliminated had processed the stolen crystals. The final confrontation came at the hegemony's capital world. Vextor's command ship, the Dominator, hung in space above the planet's surface, surrounded by the last remnants of the Zarthic fleet. "You cannot destroy us all," Vextor transmitted, his voice cracking with fear. "We are an empire spanning 40 worlds. You are just one species." "No," Admiral Jinho replied, his voice carrying across all frequencies. "We are the friends of the Kethmori, and friendship is not weak. It is the strongest force in the universe." The Song of Friendship moved into position directly in front of the enemy flagship. Through the view screen, Ginho could see Vextor's terrified face. "This is the last song the Kethmori will ever sing through us," Ginho said. "Learn it well and whatever hell awaits you." The crystal-enhanced weapons fired one final time. Vextor's ship disintegrated in a burst of light and sound, the concentrated harmonics of an entire, murdered species focused into one moment of perfect justice. When the battle ended, nothing remained of the Zarthic hegemony but debris and silence. The human fleet gathered in orbit around the former capital world, where Admiral Jinho led a small landing party to the planet's surface. In the center of what had once been Vextor's palace, Jinho planted a small crystal seed, a gift from the last surviving Kethmori. As it touched the scorched soil, it began to grow, its harmonics filling the air with a gentle song of remembrance. "Thelvin," he whispered to the growing crystal. "Velinara, all of you. Your song will bloom here now, and anyone who visits will remember Earth protects its friends, and Earth never forgets." As the human fleet prepared to return home, they left behind something the galaxy had never seen, a garden of crystalline monuments to the dead, singing their eternal song of friendship and justice across the stars. The Zarthic hegemony was gone, but the lesson remained. Those who hurt Earth's friends would face the harmony of retribution.